evening, and indeed end the evening. And here we go. All right, folks, welcome to Daybreak, map we've seen many times this tournament so far that has produced some fairly fantastic games, and this one is no doubt not going to be an exception to that rule. So what do we have? We have this fellow. Goes by the name of CQ Archlord. That's not his real name. He's actually a spy. He is the blue spy, and he is to the northeast playing terrain. He is LG I am YoDa.
Yeah, he just told us in the channel. He said, YoDa I am.
Yeah, he actually did. Oh, YoDa I am. Oh.
Yeah, we didn't hear the tones, but you can kind of fill that in.
Pretty much. Versus his opponent, this guy, have no idea why he's using this account, because we know...
ID.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. TSL Ragnarok, a.k.a. the man himself, Marauder King Prime, as he has been called from time to time. Sometimes in a friendly manner, sometimes in a derogatory manner, but great TvT nonetheless. To the southwest is, of course, TSL Polt.
And he accentuates that bioplay in TvT as well.
He does.
So, YoDa opening up with gas.
That would be Refiner first. Yeah. What does that usually mean? Well, it can mean one of two things for the most part. It's either really fast Hellions or some kind of really fast Banshee for the most part.
Yep. That's exactly right. As he will be going up against CC first from Polt.
Ah, Polt. Wonderful greedy Polt. I like greedy Polt. Greedy Polt's my favorite kind of Polt. So we'll see how that turns out for him. May not turn out so well. I mean, this is not exactly a rush or anything along those lines. It's some people would even argue it's more of a stylistic approach. You get the Hellions out a little bit faster, or you get the Starport a little bit faster as a result of doing that. It lines up really nicely when the barracks finishes, usually with about 100 gas, so you can immediately go into that factory and start to build the refinery on the barracks because you've got the gas to do it. In the meantime, there you go, Polt building his CC without a care in the world. And the question is, he's gone CC first. We've seen a lot of this tournament where they've gone CC first and only built one barracks behind it. Like, that seems like the ultimate corner cutting to me.
Yeah, I've seen that before in the OSL.
There's the second one. Yeah, he's playing safe.
Yeah, it's Polt also. He likes bio, but yeah, you're right. I've seen that. They go CC into one barracks, into two gas, into factory, into starport. It seems crazy. And it was also in the OSL that I see that they went for they went against an opponent who did gas first and who tried to do Banshee, Hellion, and so on.
Yeah.
And the CC first guy defended because the Viking came out just as the Banshee flew in. So it's possible, but Polt does not live by that philosophy. So he's going to add a second barracks and maybe also a third. Who knows?
YoDa, I believe, is looking for Banshee play here because if it was Hellion, it would be a really weird Hellion, considering that there is no reactor down. So that would be the most ineffective Hellion rush ever conceived by man.
Quite true.
Probably not really worthwhile. Unfortunately, he does have that SCV in the base that he's not been able to quite clear up, so the starport has, of course, been revealed. But here's the thing. He didn't wall off anyway. He knew it was going to be revealed. It's only a two-player map. You can't really gamble on them just not scouting. So he was aware of that possibility. He's taken both gas. Could do Cloak here, certainly. Cloak against CC first is a bit awkward. It depends on how your player is. So, more often than not, you'll see Terran be super greedy, saying, I've got two CCs, I'm going to plow all my energy into mules immediately and not worry about scans at all. But now that Polt has seen that, there's no way in a million years he's going to take a risk like that, surely.
Yeah, probably he's going to land one more mule from each command center and then kind of save it and see where it takes him. Or maybe do a scan and see whether Cloak is being researched or not.
There we go. Cloak is actually on the way. Something we saw from Bogus, aka Innovation, earlier on. He did a fairly similar build, and he actually did the fake out with
the
this.
medevac upgrade.
Yeah, very much so. He actually went Corvid reactor for no apparent reason, which really confused us.
Doesn't it cost more?
Yeah, it costs 150 gas. But apparently he had that gas anyway, so he just decided at one point he wasn't going to go Cloak, and all signs pointed to Cloak. So that was confusing for both the casters and for the people that he was trying to kill in the first place.
He's not just trying to fool his opponent, but the casters as well.
I think he might even be trying to fool himself. Who knows? He's kind of entered this weird paradox realm whereby anything goes.
Well, his name is Innovation, after all. It is,
so, yeah.
All bets are off in that regard.
They very much are. All right, now what have we got? Polt is building the starport. Usually means he's going to try and get a Viking out to deal with this inevitable Banshee that's on the way, and it very much is. It's on the way across the map. Second Banshee is on its way. The expansion behind that. Let's see what it can do. Well, Polt's been pretty greedy on that CC, and on both, actually. Yeah, this happens every now and again. They get greedy, and that can actually be very risky, because generally speaking, you can't get the turret up in time, and that's a ton of mining time lost right there. You know, hell, honestly, at this stage, I'd even argue for some players to cancel out of that cloak and tile and say, cancel the Banshee, done. I've done enough damage to justify this. You've just wasted so much mining time. I've picked off a bunch of SCVs. Now the cloak goes down, and oh, look. He's actually having to build a Raven in order to deal with... Actually, never mind. That's YoDa's Raven.
Oh, okay. So we've got a Viking coming out there. There's a strategically placed turret there on the right, and there's one more in the main mineral line. But this Banshee is doing a pretty good number on all this. So Viking's about to pop out, and you can see Polt. He wants to try and probably scan as the Viking comes out, and then hopefully like finish it off with the Marines.
Yeah, and he's not going to. Viking DPS is not high enough to make that happen, so it was a nice escape here by YoDa. And that Banshee's had 5 kills. It, for some reason, went to town on that supply depot. I guess it was bullied by supply depots as a child or something along those lines. YoDa did not find the magical spot, and that was a nice pickup.
Yeah, it was in the vision of that turret, so...
Yeah. It's deceptive. The turret has more detection range than it can actually fire, so you do get into this situation where it's really wonky. You can sometimes think you're out of range, but you're not, and then you get picked off. So
it's the same with me in throwing rocks. I can see much farther than I can throw them.
That is a fantastic analogy that has never come to mind before.
Nice. All right, so what are the worker counts here for these players?
Let's have a look. We're 36 to 32, so Polt, needless to say, still has a lead. The Banshee did do quite a bit of damage. A lot of that damage was kind of indirect in forcing turrets to be built, in forcing mining time loss, but he didn't actually pick off that many. He's killed 7 workers.
Not too bad, but
it's okay.
Yeah. Double Banshee and Cloak, it's quite an investment.
It is. The Banshee will most likely come into use later on. That's the wonderful thing about building 2 Banshees and then only losing one of them. Really great for map control, and also really great for just dipping in 10 minutes down the line when someone's forgotten that you had one in the first place.
Yeah. All right, so we've got factory play by YoDa. It deserves to be said. He's going Infernal Pre-Igniter, and he's also adding more factories. We'll bring him to a total of 3 factories, and he's got that 3rd orbital command as well. So this is a dedicated mech play, and Polt usually, as usual, sticking to his guns and going for Marauders. So once again, we see these players playing to their own strengths. Well, to be fair, we're discovering about YoDa as we speak, but we can't possibly be surprised by how Polt is approaching this.
No, absolutely not. Polt he's not the kind of guy to really mix things up. He plays very standard, very straight up, and very precisely. In the meantime, YoDa will just scout around. He has some map control here. The Blue Flame Hellion is an interesting move, honestly, especially when this is going to be a fairly Marauder-heavy force here from Polt, although actually... He's skipping on a lot of upgrades here, and he hasn't started... oh, never mind, he has started Stim, but he hasn't started Combat Shield. Yeah. So that's going to make those Blue Flame Hellions more effective than they really have any right to be.
Is there concussive shells yet?
There is not.
Not yet. Okay, so he's probably going to get that before combat, I would surmise. Let's see. Let's see exactly what he wants to do there. It doesn't have the gas yet for Combat Shield, so perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe he's waiting for that. Let's take a look. Just sticking with the stim pack for now.
Yep.
As Polt is moving across the map, he has the wall off, the anti-Zerg type of wall off. Oh, okay, so this fits through Marines, but it doesn't fit through Hellions.
In theory, yeah. It looks like it wouldn't fit through Hellions.
Yeah, that's a special Polt build.
That's really, really nice. I like that a lot. And these Blue Flame Hellions are not going to do much. And in the meantime, big aggression coming out right here. Siege is not quite done, but it will be in the next 5 seconds. All right.
And there's that Banshee.
It always pops up at the most inopportune moment, especially with a lot of SCVs in the back to help that out. But the air superiority is in favor of Polt at this stage. Down goes the... I love this thing. The point defense drone is just everyone's favorite friend when it comes to this particular matchup, and suddenly it does throw the air superiority back in the favor of the player who happens to have the Raven, and it's pushed Polt back just out of range here, and he's trying to set up a contain, lands his Vikings, doesn't want to engage here, realizing he can't do it. Yeah, he's going to go right into it. I don't know about this, but the wonderful thing about this PDD is it also neutralizes these Marauders, which is kind of cool. But you know what? What the hell is going on?
Yeah, it works against Marauders, guys.
I guess it does. YoDa, I think, needs to switch to Zerg, because those were not Zerglings, but he performed very much like they were. And YoDa pulling off some crazy shenanigans. What? He only lost 1 worker this entire game.
Okay.
How does one pull that off? That is some kind of... Is he a wizard?
He is not. He's just a person.
He's a Jedi Master. That's kind of like a wizard, right?
He has the Force. That's true.
He did indeed. Wow. Trust your feelings. You know it to be true.
And I guess that PDD thing is kind of like the lightsaber dodging all the bullets.
Yeah, exactly. You're just deflecting the bullets here and there. It's,
wow.
YoDa's crazy,
We're
man.
onto something.
Yeah. Absolutely. He is using the Force right now, and honestly, Polt just got absolutely smacked.
Yeah.
And at this point, YoDa's going to go forward. He's going to buffer with the Blue Flame Hellions. He's got so many SCVs behind this, and not the best engagement for YoDa thus far. Even Marauders stimmed are going to be able to cut through those in fairly short order. Needs to fix up what remains there. Is there any energy for another PDD? There is not. It would be wonderful if he could get it, but he doesn't have one right now.
He could make a missile turret, but I doubt he will spend his energy on that. Now, Polt did a very nice fight there. He took 0 tank shots in total, but as it stands, YoDa's going to siege up, and he's going to lay some of the heat here on this orbital.
And that's so much firepower from those tanks. That is absolutely wonderful stuff here from YoDa. The Marauders are doing their best, but they run right into a huge tank volley, and that third base is currently denied without question, and he's going to ravage the remainder of these structures in this area. And right now, Polt is in a pretty awkward spot. YoDa is able to mine freely from this base here, and he has no worries whatsoever. He's up to 80 SCVs.
Whoa, do you even need that many on 3 bases, Terran?
And that's actually excessive, but it's because he's got about 10, maybe 15 with his army, so I guess that adds up. So I thought maybe he might have overcommitted, but no, with this many SCVs bulking up this mech army that's running here.
You're right.
Yeah, it does the job. But now he's got up against the positional play of Polt, and Polt is a positional master. The first time we really saw that in the foreign scene was when we got to see him versus Stefano in the Asus ROG quite some time ago, and he was pulling off perfect positioning with tanks every time. That applies to TvT as well. Could have been stim here, which results in his Marauders getting horribly murdered. The SCVs are out for blood.
I guess he lost 2-3 units. He killed a tank, so that was almost worth it.
Yep, absolutely. Ooh, Banshee production has resumed here for YoDa. I like this decision, especially when Marauder tank. Yeah, throw a Banshee in there. Absolutely. There's no real way for them to deal with that. The Viking count for Polt is non-existent because air superiority belongs to YoDa.
So at this point, YoDa's thinking, I want to make sure I don't get dropped in my main or my third too much, because that's Polt might want to come back. So he's making double sensor tower. Nice choice there. And Polt is he's remining his third. He's trying to make a supply depot wall off there at the third anti-Hellions. Not quite done yet, but he's working on it. And is Polt once again going to do one of those ill-advised attacks into his opponent?
He might, and there's a PDD available here, and that's going to completely shut those Marauders down without any problem whatsoever. And the Marauder count's pretty high, but it's nowhere near enough. I'm actually very surprised not to see siege tank deployment. There it goes. A big stim in right there, and I have a feeling that YoDa just completely overestimated the effectiveness of that PDD. It burned out, and suddenly Polt is able to do significant damage here.
Yeah, and the problem here is that YoDa, he had those 2 tanks sieged up. They were out of range, but as he fell back, he had just unsieged them.
Yeah.
And that was really the point that made Polt very, very happy.
Yeah, he is no doubt pretty entertained by this whole situation at this point. These guys are pretty beaten up. Medevacs are now finally coming into play, so at least he'll be able to start fixing that up, but it's primarily Marauder tank versus mech play at the moment. We've got these Hellions now moving around. Can't really find anywhere to do anything, unfortunately. They're just kind of getting killed. They're going to take out a couple of mules, which, this is a good trade, actually, I think, especially if he gets out with Hellions, which is not, but kind of even trade at that stage then, but Polt now just posturing to the bottom here, sees that these sensor towers are all over the place. Drop play is just completely unviable at this point, because of course he knows exactly where everything is. But right now, Polt is stabilizing quite nicely. I mean, he's more than stabilized. Yeah. He did significant damage. That's what units lost looks like. It's fairly equal, honestly, but Polt was able to get that third base back up and running. He landed it again, and his economy is rolling quite nicely.
What really strikes me here about this game is that we're nearing the 20-minute mark, and essentially we're at like 1-0 upgrades for both players.
Yeah, it's weird,
isn't it? It shows how close it's been, like how much resources and energy they've been pouring into just pure army size.
Speaking of pure army size, YoDa's building 4 tanks at a time. Nice little Banshee play right there. I absolutely love that. It's caused all sorts of problems here for Polt. There's another one picked off, and there aren't all that many Marines there, so he's able to do significant damage. Missile turret is not going to go up in a million years. That's not going to happen. But the tank count is starting to get a little bit crazy here for YoDa.
14 tanks, so
about to be 16.
Positionally is going to be very important for YoDa, that he is never caught unsiege.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have one more of those disastrous fights as we saw near the third base.
Absolutely. That's why he needs those sensor towers in order to make sure that he doesn't get caught on siege. A great salvo initially there, and significant damage being inflicted on the left flank, but there may be too many Marauders here, but I don't think so. With that many, I just noticed, hey, the ramp's entirely stacked full of tanks. Nothing's going to happen there. No PDD energy wasn't even needed, but it's going to be available for the next fight, which could be very dangerous indeed. The bio count is starting to crumble a little bit here for Polt. He's adding a Thor into the mix. A little bit of mech firepower, building 2 tanks at a time, maybe looking to transition, especially with +1, but +2 is about to kick in here for YoDa, and I have a feeling he wants to push out with those 3 Banshees there. This is beautiful here from YoDa.
Nice. Very, very nice. Coming in with those Banshees, and there is the Thor. He's the
That's
natural enemy of Banshees.
Yes, he is. He very, very slowly kills large numbers of Banshees and does so in a pretty effective manner. So scans going down all over the place. This has become highly positional at this stage. The couple of Hellions now moving around the side, and a big push towards the third. Walling off with command centers, as you do. The tanks are down, and the SCVs are coming to the fight and actually going to win the fight.
Nice.
This is the problem with rolling with nothing but Marauders. SCVs are actually pretty good in this situation. He's going in, he's doing damage, and this tank is obliterating everything, SCVs and the Marauders alike. But a quick stim forward takes down one, looking for the second here. This is just a mess from both sides, but the third has been broken at large cost. In the meantime, here comes those +2 tanks wrecking their way through the remainder of Polt's army that collapses at the back, cutting off his reinforcements. Economic damage is heavy, though.
Wow.
Look at that.
Finally, YoDa lost some of those SCVs.
Took him a while.
As the army size here is now currently in favor of YoDa, but he's down in workers and mining bases. So, and it's kind of hard to just push and attack and capitalize on that victory with mech play. He's going to just upgrade to 3-1. I think he's 2-0 right now on his tanks.
He is, yep.
So this game is nowhere near from being finished if it's up to YoDa here.
Well, Polt's got absolutely no qualms whatsoever about continuing this game for another 3 hours. That will happen if he gets the opportunity to do so. He's going to have a look-see. Is there a fourth? Well, probably not, but gives him that flanking opportunity. A few Marines positioned here as well, and YoDa trying to establish this cordon off to the side here, but this is a flank coming in that takes a pretty heavy shot, stimming forward, out of range. Oh, the planetary's not done yet. This is a nice little timing here for Polt. He could take that planetary out potentially. The Hellions coming in to try and reinforce. Planetary is up and planetary is down.
Well, I guess the planetary was unlucky that it wasn't done yet, but it did provide an attractive target to try and focus down for Polt.
Yeah.
That means that YoDa didn't lose as much other stuff.
No, absolutely. Planetary's not going to mine anything, so that's really important for him right now. He needs to be thinking about a 4th base at this stage. In fact, he's got the 4th base up now. The planetary is running quite nicely, and now we're going to have this map split situation, which is fairly common in TvT, and it just becomes even more positional than it already is.
Yeah, so fast forward 15 minutes and we'll see Polt trying to get battle cruisers as he's already at 3-3.
I love it.
And YoDa will be getting more and more tanks and Thors and Vikings. But for now, there's still a chance that one of them screws up horribly and will end up yielding the game. But it's looking increasingly less likely that a conclusion will be coming anytime soon here.
No, certainly not.
As we just see the beauty of TvT, where every unit has a counter. Marauders.
Oh, that looks delicious. That looks really delicious.
Yes, please.
YoDa, come on, fire. YoDa, realize where you are. The SCV kebab has been cut tragically short, but some damage done nonetheless.
Killed about half of that.
Yeah, actually killed half of it by not paying any attention whatsoever. It was fairly fortunate, but that was okay for him. He's going to take that, and he's going to be fairly happy with that trade. At the moment, this big siege up in the center just draws the line in the sand and says, this far and no further. What do we see here? Fusion core, 3 starports coming in, and there is the battlecruiser transition. This is the super late game TvT option where there's too much mech on the map, and you want to break it with air. The battlecruiser is the way to go.
And in the meantime, YoDa's making Raven again. I think he probably lost one Raven. I don't think that's his second. Oh, it's his second Raven. Sweet.
I like that decision.
Yeah,
that's
it's been working out well for him.
Wow, Polt. Okay. That's a doom drop on the way here to the main base. I mean, it's going to be detected a mile away, but the problem with mech is this mobility issue.
Whoa. Double Viking and 6 turrets. I think YoDa is in pretty good position to hold that drop.
I think he's all right. Yeah, I'm not sure how he predicted that a massive doom drop of half of Polt's army would be going, but it is. And in the meantime, we've got Blue Flame Hellion here, we've got Blue Flame Hellion here, and we have a really ugly drop that is being shelled out of existence, but most of the guys got on the ground. They're not getting out of there anytime soon, though.
So this is Polt's way of having a really nice trade for units that he wants to lose, so he can transition to BCs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's doing a lot of damage with it, but in the meantime, that made sure that he was not as mindful of this Hellion harass, and I think quite a few workers were killed.
Yeah, they were
20 or so.
Yeah,
by Hellions.
that's really done significant damage to Polt actually at this point. But this rampaging army is just doing so much here. It's really starting to cripple the production facilities. On the supply block is actually huge here as well. It's going to cause a great deal of problems. PDD goes down. Nice use of that. And finally the cleanup comes in with these +3 1 tanks.
Wow,
damage-wise, though,
big supply block.
Yeah, that's 2. There we go. 2 extra supplies being dropped in here, and the actual amount of production facilities has gone down to a really critical level. You don't want just to have 3 factories on 4 bases in this position.
Definitely. Ah, well, so Polt, he has a lot of gas, he's got a fair amount of minerals, he's starting off with some Vikings, and there we go with the first 2 battle cruisers. We do not need to wait 15 minutes, we'll see some in 6 minutes from the point where I said so already. 3 BCs are being created, but this is also happening to be the weakest point right now for Polt.
Yeah, this huge window is more often than not exploited before the transition is fully complete, and YoDa is going right for it. He already has air superiority, and in the meantime, this big engagement looks like the planetary is going to be going down. It's going to take a few kills with it, but it will die very rapidly, and there's the GG from YoDa.
Wow.
There you go. It's so much for exploiting that hole. I guess losing the 4th mining base was enough to kick him out of the game, and the first game in a really odd TvT goes to TSL Polt there.
Well, it's the kind of game I think he likes. He did all the elements which kind of make his play work against mech, which is like catching tanks on siege, running past just the edge of the tank vision or range, and as well as doing 1 big doom drop. Polt loves to do that in TvZ. He loves to do it in TvT against mech, and definitely it bore fruits for him there.
It did.
As he takes that first map.
Absolutely. We're going to be inviting them into the game, and we're going to try and make this as quick as